we're gonna be Doom centric here for the next two topics.
Oh,
First,
shit, we are.
first one. This is why I said when we were talking about the Doom speed run, it ties into things we're talking about. So I just had a general, and I might throw this out because I always have an issue. The way my brain works, and Jim has known this since college, that I have an obsession with lists, categorizing, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
It's true.
And Doom is one of those games I've seen multiple times vehemently put in lists that it's absolutely a horror game, and then it's absolutely not a horror game. It's just an FPS action game. My question to you, Jim, not trying to say from an expert standpoint, where do you stand? Because for me, I get the idea of why it's horror because you're seeing gruesome body parts everywhere. You're killing these demons. The fact that you're in hell, like there's so many aspects. It's like makes sense. It's horror, but I guess when I think of horror games, obviously my mind goes to either the old, really old style point and click, first person, whatever, or straight survival horror. Because there's no point in that game where I feel like, oh man, I can't handle these big monsters. You're like, no, I'm mowing all these motherfuckers down. So I'm one of those where it's like, I really don't consider it a horror game, but I can understand why some people would. So what do you think?
I'm in the boat of I don't consider it horror. And the reason I don't, even besides the, now I will say maybe like the Jaguar version because there's no music. I think the music kind of takes away from the horror elements because, yeah, it's just speed metal that they, digitized. So I think that kind of changes on some level the feel of it from being straight up horror, even though it's gory and it's got the hell monsters and all that stuff. But my real reason for it is just comparing games. So when I grew up, I had Doom, and I had Doom 2, and I had Quake 2. Quake 2, and people kind of shit on Quake 2, but for being different, but Quake 2 legit disturbed me as a kid. Like, it had a really, like, especially the opening prison levels and stuff like that. Like, it was just gory and people were being tortured. You had the screams of horror and blood and guts in the backgrounds. People just, begging you to kill them that are strapped to walls. Whereas Doom was just like, running through, killing everything. So I just think Doom never had the atmosphere. Like, you could get a jump scare here and there from like the invisible ghouls or stuff like that, but in the grand scheme, or Pinky, yes. But even with like the hellish landscape, I never felt like I was just like, oh, this looks cool and brutal. I was never like, oh, I'm scared now. Whereas, like, I guess the more dynamic lighting and the mood and setting of like other games, even like I said, FPSs like Quake 2, really got to me.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Doom 3, I would absolutely say is a horror game.
Which I never played.
Yeah, so that one was so reliant on, like, shadows and dark corners, and you have to use your flashlight, and just generally creepy. But then, with the Doom remake, it's an amazing game, but similarly, I would never call that a horror game. And it's gruesome, and the blood and gore is just tenfold.
Oh,
and
yeah.
done in much better pictures, but yeah, it's got that same metal soundtrack. I mean, I would be more inclined to almost be like, it's kind of sci-fi-ish, but there's nothing like scary or like even atmospherically. I mean, yes, you are looking at bodies being thrown everywhere and whatever, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I was never scared by the new Doom, but I mean, I fucking loved it.
Yeah. But so me and you are on the same page with that. Once again, I think just by nature of
well, you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing for that. You could say it's almost in the realm of like how, pardon me, where slasher movies are kind of in the horror realm, but no one would ever call a lot of straight up slasher movies scary.
Well, see, I don't know. I think so. Well, I look at something like Scream, and that literally was the reason why everyone got caller ID after that movie. And literally, like, that's creepy and scary for the sense that of all horror movies, I know a lot of people who are fine with watching zombies, vampires, whatever, because they're fake. But
right.
Slashers were creepy because that could happen. Some psycho could decide, I'm going to put on a mask and, torture this babysitter, whatever the case is. So,
all right, fair.
I would definitely, but I would say to your point, something like, because I just had this debate with someone. You've seen the movie Seven, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, is that horror or is that just a thriller? What he does to the victims is horrible, but it's more of a thriller. It's like a detective thriller, so it's not really horror.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think what really stemmed this is because I remember when we were doing our horror bracket for best horror video game in October,
Doom was high.
Doom was on there because it's obviously a great game. But I remember I had heartburn about putting it on back then. But I'm like, it's not really a horror game. But of course, it's going to get high on our bracket because it's a great game.
Right.
So, in the future, I'm saying it, not horror.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.